you have to realize that there are different dimensions, and this is part of science. I mean, it's not
Mhm.
you know, supernatural or paranormal. It's science now. They do believe that there are multiple dimensions.
Yeah.
And when we lose this particular form,
Mhm.
our energy, which never dies, it can't go away, our life force energy with all the memories, everything that we've ever experienced and done in this experience here,
Mhm.
goes somewhere else to
Yeah.
another vibration, as it were, or another dimension.
Mhm.
And in some ways, ghosts are like time travelers, because their time is a dimension, and they come back and can recreate their environment of that time, even though we're here in
Yeah.
what we think is the present.
Mhm.
So it's a very science is going to catch up with us.
Yeah.
It's not like one friend of mine said, "Oh, that's woo woo." It's not woo woo. I think science, physics, especially, is going to start saying, "Oh yeah, this
Yeah.
stuff is real,"
Yeah.
and people like yourself are proving that it's real.
Try to talk to people like yourselves. We also, our recordings, what we hear in our recordings can be phenomenal. And
Mhm.
how do you explain that? So basically what we're doing is putting that out. And obviously everybody's going to have their own opinion and make up their own minds. I'm showing you what we catch. This is our adventures, and we
Mhm.
enjoy every second of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're constantly learning, constantly.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I learned things about, you know, what other people's lives and experiences were like from that time frame, rather than, you know, reading it out of a history book. You get a real greater sense of what
Yeah.
their lives were, and it's interesting that you know, they had very, very complex lives as well. You know, we think that their lives were simpler. They're not. They weren't.
Yeah.
So and I think overall, it's a great thing, because those that are stuck, now there's some who choose to be here.
Mhm.
When I was working on Amber's house, there are some Mi'kmaq warriors
Mhm.
who are still happy about, they had a campground behind the house.
Okay.
And they were very happy to be here, and, you know, they love this place, and so they're part of the land, and so
Yes.
they have no problem
Staying here.
staying here. That's one thing, but then you find like the little boy in the attic who,
Mhm.
you know, was looking for his mother,
Mhm.
and, you know, died accidentally, and he's still looking for his mother. That's a tragedy.
Yeah.
So you help them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's and so you meet all sorts of interesting people.
Yeah. And one thing that we do too, you know, like when we are doing our investigations, we try to read up on the history of the place, if
Mhm.
there's any available.
Yeah.
Most times there's not, especially when it comes to residential homes.
Yeah.
Now with the inn, it's great to be able to see old pictures. It's nice to
Mhm.
read some of the stories.
Mhm.
And but what also happens too is that we were into a place there. It was a museum, but there's a lot of residual ties to things, and more than that sometimes.
Yeah.
But we had in our research, we were listening to some of our recordings, and I said to Charlene, I said, in our research, did we come across this name? And she said, well, wait a second, you know, she found it. And it's just like, without that research,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
That was validation. Okay,
Exactly.
that clip, you would never ever understood if you did not do your research,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. It's true.
To get that name, it was just like, wow,
Yeah.
you know, look, we didn't know that name. We may have read it at one point, just scanning through,
Mhm.
but to actually hear that voice on recording was just like, wow, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I admire that you, well, I don't have that kind of equipment. We have like little bits of equipment, you know, like the meters, but you have a great, excuse me, range of sophisticated equipment, so you can really pick up and record a lot of this.
Well, because I don't have your gift,
Mhm.
this is mine.
Oh, I know.
This is how I need to communicate and try to connect.
Well, And you have to remember too that mediums are kind of like radio receivers.
Mhm.
We don't always turn into every frequency, you know, like we turn into a channel, and sometimes we're more sensitive to certain entities than others, or some entities may not like us, you know, they may not want to connect with us. So it's not always, this is neutral, so, you know, this will probably pick up more than I will sometimes, and vice versa. But again, it's not an exact kind of science. And I don't think science is exact either, because there's certain phenomena in life you cannot reproduce.
No.
And,
No.
you know, so, you know, science is merely a methodology trying to explain nature and the world. It's not the end all or be all.
Like for us, like I explain to people, and some people say, well, why do you do this? And it's, well, when I first started this, it's more out of curiosity. And then you start hearing the voices.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you start questioning things and beliefs that you were taught and things like that. It's great to have your own belief system. I grew up in the Pentecostal church, okay? I still have certain beliefs. However, you know, there is life after death, and it's just a little bit different version than we've been taught, you know? And it's fantastic, you know? There is different levels, like you said yourself, different level of beings, okay? And if we can help any of them, that is great. You know, if nobody believes it's real, then what's going to happen when we are there and may need help, you know?
That's true. Yeah.
So, and you've already made friends from the other side, so. That's great to have
I've
too.
heard this great example, believe it or not, it was on Doctor Who, but I use this because it just seems to work. It was described as like when you're in your mother's womb, that's your world. You don't know any different. Everything's taken care of you. You're fed. You're comfortable. You don't know that there's another world. You think that's your universe. You think everything is that. It's going to be like that forever. Then you're expelled. You're born. In that birth, you think you're going to die. The experience is pretty traumatizing. You know, you're thrown into an alien environment. You're thrown into, you know, a different kind of experience, both tactically and sensory. Well, that's the kind of transition that happens when you go from life, this what we call life, to death. You know, just like in the womb, we think this is all there is. Many people do. But then when we transition, it's just like a birth into another realm. And we keep transitioning. And it's not just these, you know, from birth to life to death. There's other levels too. So it's
that.
once we get
example,
and I love that example because
because everybody can relate to it, right?
I think so.
Absolutely,
And I think we're like the more we do this kind of investigation, we will find that there's not just these three transitions. There's other.
There is more.
There is more. It's just so exciting to think about.
It's comforting because when you die, that's not the end.
No, and that's exactly. I would think that I think a lot of people have fear of the unknown, but to me, knowing that there is something out there beyond this. I mean, that's because the biggest thing that everybody is afraid of is dying and disappearing.
Exactly, and it's not something you need to fear.
Yeah,